Have you ever wondered how the U.S. compares to other countries in various aspects? In today's interconnected world, it's a question that sparks intriguing conversations, shedding light on the strengths and weaknesses of different nations. Today, we're going to explore 10 areas where some observers believe the United States faces challenges compared to other countries. Now, this isn't about passing judgment or painting a negative picture. Rather, it's about fostering a dialogue, stimulating thought, and promoting understanding. Each country has its unique strengths and weaknesses, and the United States is no exception. From its healthcare system to education costs, income inequality to political polarization, we'll delve into these topics and more. So, whether you're a curious mind seeking to broaden your horizons or a passionate global citizen eager to understand the global landscape better, this exploration promises to be enlightening. Prepare for a deep dive into some critical areas of critique. First, let's talk about the healthcare system. A hot topic of debate, the U.S. healthcare system is often critiqued for its accessibility and affordability. Unlike some other developed countries that have embraced universal healthcare, the U.S. grapples with how best to provide quality medical care to all of its citizens without imposing significant financial strain. The question of how to balance the scales between cost and care is a persistent one. In nations with universal healthcare, medical treatment is a given right, not a privilege. This means that every citizen, regardless of their economic status, has access to the care they need. In contrast, within the U.S. system, medical expenses can be a heavy burden, often leading to personal bankruptcies. This disparity between healthcare models continues to fuel discussions about the best way forward. The ongoing debate about healthcare in the U.S. is a significant concern. Next, the cost of education. In the United States, the soaring cost of higher education is often under the spotlight. Tuition fees at universities have seen a steep rise over the years, making it one of the most expensive countries for tertiary education. This escalating cost often leads to a heavy reliance on student loans, causing many young Americans to begin their post-college lives under a mountain of debt. Comparatively, several countries around the world offer low-cost or even free higher education, making the American system seem particularly burdensome. This financial strain can act as a barrier for many individuals, potentially limiting their access to higher education and impacting their social mobility. The high cost of education in the U.S. raises important questions about the affordability and accessibility of learning opportunities. It's a contentious issue that has sparked significant debate on how to balance educational quality with affordability. The financial strain of higher education remains a pressing issue. Now, let's delve into the issue of income inequality. In the United States, the wealth gap has been steadily widening over the years. This trend has drawn considerable criticism due to its potential impact on societal well-being. While the country is home to immense wealth, the distribution of that wealth is a point of contention. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a relatively small number of individuals has led to notable disparities in income and opportunities. Critics argue that this inequality can affect everything from education access to health outcomes, ultimately shaping the experiences and opportunities of different segments of the population in profoundly disparate ways. Moreover, some argue that the widening wealth gap fuels social discontent and can potentially undermine democratic principles. The question of how to address this issue and promote a more equitable distribution of wealth remains a persistent challenge. The disparities in income and opportunities are a matter of significant debate. Politics, a hot-button issue. It's a subject that can ignite passionate debates at dinner tables and social gatherings. Now let's talk about political polarization in the United States. Over the years, the political landscape in the U.S. has become increasingly polarized, with ideological gaps between the major parties widening. This divergence is not just about differing opinions. It's about the inability to find common ground, a vital component of any functioning democracy. Compared to some other countries where consensus politics often prevails, this level of political polarization can pose significant challenges. Critics argue that it hinders effective governance, as the focus shifts from finding solutions to winning the ideological battle. This environment can make bipartisan cooperation difficult, potentially impacting policy outcomes and, ultimately, the lives of the citizens. The question then becomes, how can the U.S. navigate these waters to foster a more cooperative political environment? The divisive nature of politics in the U.S. is a challenge to effective governance. The criminal justice system, a contentious topic. the United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world, a fact that raises eyebrows and invites criticism. Mass incarceration, often seen as a response to crime, has far-reaching social and economic implications, impacting communities and perpetuating cycles of poverty. Alongside this, the system faces scrutiny over racial disparities in sentencing. A disproportionate number of individuals from racial and ethnic minority communities find themselves ensnared in the justice system, a reality that calls into question the principle of equality before the law. Furthermore, the overall functioning of the criminal justice system, from policing to prosecution, is often cited as needing reform. Critics argue that the system, in its current state, struggles to balance the scales of justice, with issues such as plea bargaining, lengthy pre-trial detentions, and the death penalty igniting debates about fairness and human rights. The need for reform in the criminal justice system is a widely held view. Now, on to infrastructure. As we traverse the vast landscapes of the United States, we're met with a multitude of structures: bridges, roads, public transportation systems. These are the veins and arteries of a nation, facilitating movement and connection. But critics suggest that the U.S. infrastructure, despite its grandeur, has been showing signs of age. They argue that the country, though highly developed, needs significant investment in its infrastructure. Consider the bridges that span the mighty rivers, or the roads that crisscross the continent. These structures have been standing for decades, subjected to the wear and tear of time and elements. Some observers propose that these aging infrastructures demand renovation or replacement to ensure safety and efficiency. Similarly, public transportation systems, the lifelines of bustling cities, could benefit from modernization. Critics argue that enhancing these systems could not only improve daily commutes, but could also contribute to environmental sustainability. Infrastructure is an area that arguably needs more attention and investment. Let's talk about paid parental leave. While many developed nations have established policies for paid parental leave, the United States stands as an exception with no federal mandate in place. This absence can place a significant burden on working parents, potentially affecting both their professional and personal lives. In countries such as Sweden and Canada, policies are in place that allow parents to take time off work to care for their newborns without fear of losing their income. This not only supports the well-being of the family, but also contributes to a healthier work-life balance. Meanwhile, in the United States, the responsibility often falls on employers to provide this benefit. However, not all do, and even when they do, the duration and pay can vary significantly. This discrepancy in policy can lead to disparities in the experiences of new parents across the country, and is a point that critics often highlight when comparing the U.S. to other developed nations. The absence of federally mandated paid parental leave is a point of concern. Next, environmental policies. The United States, like many nations, grapples with developing and implementing policies that adequately address environmental challenges, particularly those related to climate change. Critics often point out that the U.S.'s historical contributions to global emissions necessitate a more aggressive approach to climate action. In contrast, some countries have established more ambitious targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, transitioning to renewable energy, and investing in sustainable infrastructure. This comparison, however, is not to diminish the efforts made by the United States. The country has indeed made strides in certain areas, such as advancing clean energy technologies. However, the scale and urgency of environmental challenges demand more. The conversation around environmental policies is not just about national interests. It's about our shared global responsibility to safeguard our planet for future generations. The environment is another area that invites international scrutiny. Now let's talk about gun control. An issue that's as hot as a smoking gun barrel, gun control is a matter of significant debate within the United States. The country sees a higher number of gun-related incidents than other developed nations. This prevalence has pushed gun control to the forefront of national conversation, causing ripples of concern across the globe. Critics argue that the heart of this issue lies not in the right to bear arms, but in the need for more comprehensive regulations. They assert that a balance must be struck between the constitutional right to own firearms and the public's safety. By drawing parallels with other nations that have stringent gun laws and lower gun-related incidents, they advocate for a more regulated approach. However, the discussion around gun control is layered and complex, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's a delicate dance between personal freedoms and societal safety. Gun control remains a contentious issue in U.S. society. Finally, we reach the topic of racial injustice. It's a profound issue that has been at the heart of numerous historical and contemporary debates in the United States. Critics argue that systemic challenges persist, manifesting in various forms such as disparities in education, employment, housing, and the criminal justice system. These disparities often disproportionately affect racial and ethnic minorities, underscoring the need for comprehensive strategies to address racial injustice. Compared to some other countries, the U.S. has a unique racial and ethnic diversity, which enriches the nation's cultural fabric, but also presents specific challenges. While other nations grapple with their issues of racial and ethnic inequality, the scale and intensity of these issues in the U.S. have been a focal point of national and international conversations. The fight against racial injustice is not a battle for one moment, but a continuous struggle for equality, fairness, and social justice. Racial injustice is a critical issue that requires sustained efforts for change. So, we've covered a lot today. We've traveled through the perceived challenges in the U.S., from healthcare and education costs to political polarization and racial injustice. These are complex issues, each with its unique set of circumstances and potential solutions. We've also looked at the areas where critics argue the U.S. could improve, such as infrastructure, parental leave, environmental policies, and gun control. It's important to remember that these are perceived challenges, and they are part of a broader, ongoing global conversation. The United States, like any other nation, has its strengths as well as its weaknesses. It's a country that has achieved remarkable feats, influencing various aspects of our world. By engaging in open-minded discussions about these perceived challenges, we can all contribute to a more informed, constructive dialogue that helps us strive for better, not just in the U.S., but across the globe. Remember, every country has its strengths and weaknesses, and it's through understanding these that we can strive for better. Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey. Your presence and attention have made this discussion more enriching. We've covered some heavy topics today, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on these. What did you find most surprising? Is there a topic you'd like us to delve deeper into? Please leave your comments below, and let's continue this important conversation. If you appreciated this content and want to stay updated on future discussions, please hit the subscribe button. We have a plethora of topics to uncover, and your engagement truly makes a difference. Remember, your voice matters. Let's continue the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's strive for better together.